some sugar. And use your torch to braise it to a golden, crispy brown.
Disasters happen. Fire, water, and natural disasters. Tell your insurance provider you prefer Blue Ridge Property Restore. Blue Ridge Property Restore, getting you back from disaster faster.
Join us next week when we tackle Baked Alaska.
In the market for a flooring upgrade? Tripp's Floor Sanding and Berkeley Fashion Flooring does it all, from hardwood floor restoration to new floor installation, including hardwood, tile, vinyl, laminate, carpet, and the hottest trend in flooring, luxury vinyl tile and luxury vinyl plank. Family owned and operated with over 25 years experience, you can expect excellent customer service. Estimates are free. Call 304-229-7009 or online at trippsfloorsanding.com.
Saturday, July 7th, Valley Guns 2 is having their 5th annual boardwalk sale. It's 108 feet of sale and clearance items at unbelievable prices. Huge savings on Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Browning, Ruger, and FN firearms, ammunition, and Hawk optics, plus huge savings on bows, crossbows, arrows, targets, and lots more. Don't miss out. It's the 5th annual boardwalk sale at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81, Inwood, West Virginia. Call 304-229-4411, valleyguns2.com.
From the Talk Radio WRNR studios, it's time for Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob Mario and David Welch.
Thank you, Cliffy. Good morning and welcome to the program. This first segment of our show brought to you by L.A. Roberts Jewelers. Located in downtown Martinsburg, L.A. Roberts Jewelers is committed to excellence in quality design and craftsmanship, and I can tell you from personal experience that they are. I bought several pieces of jewelry there for my lovely wife, and one piece even more beautiful than the next.
I can tell you that they absolutely love you down there, Rob. All I need to do is go down there and say, hey, I'm Rob Mario's partner on the radio. Oh, okay.
Did you get new glasses?
I did. You like them?
I just saw them for the first time.
They're brand new. I just got them last night.
Now that's what, blue?
They're kind of a bluish gray color.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in a long, long time that I've gone away from the black frames, even though I might get slightly different design. But so yeah, you like them though?
They
look
pop,
okay?
man. They totally pop.
Yeah, well, I like them, and I'm not used to them yet though. But we'll see.
You know, for those just tuning in for the first time, or maybe you missed the previous show, David, when the floodwaters were raging and sweeping away everything that was not completely bolted down, David decided to go out and get a kayak and go out with the family kayak fest on the raging rivers. And while he kept his life, he lost his eyeglasses, and he's been without them for 2 weeks.
I did, yes. I've been suffering. Actually, it's been 3 weeks, and I had to wear a 10-year-old pair. You know, I can't stop thinking, by the way, of yesterday's show and the gift that we received on the birdhouses.
On the Birdman, yeah.
And I took mine home. Debbie was just overwhelmed by it, and she said, this is not going outside.
It's too nice.
They're too nice to put outside. So she's already found a spot for it. And speaking of listeners, a shout out to my new friend, Debbie McBride. I met her today at the gym, and she came up and introduced herself and said she listens to our show every morning.
Great.
Doesn't always agree with us.
Who would?
Agrees with me more than you. Okay, she said. And
I don't even know that I offer my opinion that much.
Well, I mean, you know, when you go on a rant, you know, you're defined by your rants that you have occasionally.
Totally down with that.
Okay, so but she listens every morning. Debbie wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I told her I got her permission to mention her name on the air today. So there you go. Also, last night maybe you haven't seen this yet, but Joe Manchin's got his first general election campaign ad out.
No, I did not see it.
And he talks about how he voted for the Trump wall.
Clearly, he's taking the aggression.
Clearly, yes. And at the end, he doesn't attack it. I wouldn't define it as an attack ad against Pat Morrissey, but when he does the disclaimer at the end, he says something like, I'm Joe Manchin and I paid for this ad because Pat Morrissey is wrong. So he does take a swipe at Morrissey at the end, and he makes it very clear that he supports that wall. So there you go. First opening salvo, on television at least, of the general election. Here it is, June. And just as we have predicted this is going to get nasty, and already a little bit nasty. It starts off a little bit nasty, and then it gets nastier and nastier.
Our producer is Sherry Dieter Davis, and our summer intern is the wonderful Savon Hunter. Good morning, Savon.
Good morning.
Savon, how do you feel that you've only been here 3 weeks and you're already the subject of a promo ad for this show?
I feel like a superstar.
All right.
Let's listen to the debut of the Savon promo. Here we go. We're talking with our intern, Savon Hunter. Savon, when did you develop this dislike of water?
I don't know. There are so many things in the ocean.
Icky things, huh?
Yeah, I don't like it.
How about swimming pools?
Swimming pools are fine.
Yeah, but we've learned from experts swimming pools have icky things in them too.
I can't see the icky things.
Watch for the solids.
Well, she gets stationed at Lambert Park every now and then.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to take care of an emergency, Savon?
That's not my job.
Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David. What did you listen to last week?
Hey, that's our
Drop the mic, baby.
Savon has her limits as to what she will do to earn money to go back to school.
Not my job.
This fall, and that's not on the list of things approved.
I wonder if we could push her so far in her job here that she would look at us and say, that's not my job.
I'm thinking that there's a possibility that would
might
happen.
be.
Yeah.
Those bathrooms are pretty dirty in there.
That's not her job.
That's not her job.
We do clearly pay somebody for that.
Yes, we do.
To the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line we go. Rob Cornelius is our guest. He is the chairman of the Republican Party in Wood County, over where Parkersburg is, and we say good morning to him now. Rob, good morning. How are you?
Morning, gents. And you're right, the mansion ads started running over here 300 miles away. I think we're in the same time zone as you guys, but we're finally seeing the same stuff. So,
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I just saw it last night on, let's see, I guess it would have been watching, I don't know, I think it was one of the cable news stations. No. I was watching a rerun of Modern Family, actually. So it was on the cable, one of the rerun cable shows that I saw it.
Well, it's funny. When they're on the cable or the dish, they'll jam it in pretty much any place. What you're getting over here is you're getting a mansion ad. You're usually getting back-to-back with actually another outside group that's for Joe Manchin. That adds even more negative on the Attorney General.
So that's already running, you mean?
Already.
So what do you read?
All week, actually, back into last week, yeah.
What do you read into that, Mr. Chairman, that this has already started? It's only June. And,
I'm surprised it didn't start sooner. I'm surprised Joe Manchin's got a decent fundraising advantage, and again, he's a sitting senator, sitting on a mid-seven-figure amount of money. And the key thing is candidates, as you guys know at the station, probably get a much cheaper rate than non-candidates. So if you're a candidate and you've got excess funds, you start this thing this summer, you define your opponent, you see if you can build a lead and stay with it. You're justified at that point.
Way back in 1974, I was doing an internship on Capitol Hill during college.
Oh, and that would have been a fun summer.
Yeah, it was the
drilled in the worst Republican election of all time.
The impeachment summer. Anyway, I came out from California, did a summer internship for my a congressman from Southern California, and I went to spend a weekend with a classmate who was from West Virginia and went to the same college that I went to in California. And so I went to Wood County, and it was my very first experience with West Virginia, never knowing that someday West Virginia would be my home. So that was my intro to West Virginia.
Welcome and welcome back. I don't know what the place looked like in '74, but it is what it is now. It's a third or fourth biggest Republican county in the state. It's really essentially about equal to Berkeley in terms of importance, vote weighting. So we got a lot going on over here, and we've been Republican for a long time. One of those sites was Union Forts 150 years ago or whatever.
Let me jump in here and said, if you haven't been to a Big Reds football game in Parkersburg, a home playoff game, whatever, you got
it's still a huge deal.
The whole town is there. I don't think there's a person left in their house. Everybody's wearing red. It's a great tailgate, and the game itself is just so loud. The fans are incredible.
Is there still an airport in Parkersburg? Is there still an airport in Parkersburg?
Yeah, still an airport, marginal commercial flights, but it's kind of like what you guys have out of Hagerstown. It's not as many as you'd like, but again, you're less than 2 hours to Columbus, Ohio, about 2 hours to Pittsburgh. So if you need a big boy airport, that's where you go.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember how I got there. I flew out of National to Pittsburgh and then got on a little plane and flew to Parkersburg. So that's how I ended up there. Hey, before we go on to the topic that you want to talk about, I have one more question on the Manchin ad. It was interesting to me that his first ad out of the box was to tell voters that he voted for the Trump wall. That's
Well,
central to his message. What's his thinking?
That is the number one issue with people. It may not seem necessarily important in your day-to-day lives, but if you poll voters, and I was part of a campaign earlier in the spring, the Republican primary, the wall issue, the border issue, and you guys have, I think, a much bigger issue with it in the Eastern Panhandle than the rest of the state. The wall issue really, really does scare people. It's really important. And Manchin is trying to stake out that he's a guy that's for the wall when he probably really, really isn't. But, again, there's video of him now in a Republican ad that you're seeing online, not necessarily on TV, where Manchin says he's against the wall, and an MSNBC appearance, I think, last year at some point. So you're going to see both versions of that. Joe Manchin is against the wall, and he's pretty much for whatever he thinks folks are for from day to day. The principles are kind of the issue.
Well, I mean, whether he's for it or against it, even in this TV ad, he points to the actual voting record and to the word, Senator Joe Manchin. Yes.
Right, and there's
he
comes up on screen.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's not really clear what bill it is, whether it's essentially a vote on a bill or a vote on a floor motion. But you're right, like he's making that play, and that's a smart play. That's exactly what he should be doing.
It is a smart play. I agree with that.
Let's shift our topic to Governor Jim Justice. We're talking with Rob Cornelius, chairman of the Republican Party in Wood County, and there's a movement underway. I don't know if it's gotten to a rumble or a roar yet, but the impeachment of Jim Justice is on the minds of some people in this state, and it's starting to pick up a little bit of momentum. Rob, what's behind the movement?
Well, backgrounder, I sent this to you last night, and it's running some papers around the state, but we've got a really, really serious government's corruption malfeasance problem going on right now in the state. You guys out there, even out in the Panhandle, you've heard about the problems with the Supreme Court, and you're going to have somewhere between 1 or 2 or 3 Supreme Court judges most likely up on charges and in some sense on the way out over the next few months, starting with Republican Alan Loffrey, Democrat Menace Ketchum, and perhaps Democrat Robin Davis. This is reminiscent of 30 years ago, 1988-89, where in 1 year, essentially one summer in West Virginia, you had a governor, consecutive Senate presidents, 2 more state senators, a state auditor, and a state treasurer all get in serious, serious trouble, either criminal or being forced to resign or forced to not run again. There's also an attorney general that went down in that period in West Virginia. And the issue with Jim Justice is flood relief. You guys talked about, obviously, the high water situation out in the EP very recently in the last few weeks. But the massive floods in 2016 in southern West Virginia, that's kind of been the impetus for this. The scandal starts with a mishandling of a couple $100 million federal dollars that were sent in here to do flood relief that no one seems to figure out what they were spent on, why large amounts of them weren't spent, and where the money's going. And the issue for the governor is not a specific criminal act. And once you understand the impeachment statute in the state, how it works, the issue for the governor is he never comes to work. And that's the genesis of all these problems. The governor, you can only verify him through media reports, his schedule, pictures, etc., has only come into work about 1.2 days a week. And that's the point I make in what I sent out to the state party and elected officials last week. Over the first 5 months of the year, that's 22 work weeks. We can only verify the governor had been to the Capitol about 24 days. You throw in a few outside visits where he's appeared at a graduation or appeared at another event, gone to D.C. once to visit with the Emperor of Qatar, I believe. About 27 work days you can verify. And the question is, Jim Justice is leaving people in charge at the mansion that we didn't elect, certainly aren't Republicans, and he's just not governing. And this is just the first of many problems in terms of scandal and corruption that are coming in multiple departments in the state. It's not just the flood scandal, Department of Commerce, but trust me on this one, I've been through a lot of these, there's a lot more to come.
Rob, is the issue with the money, and we did a show on this last week, we did a couple of shows on this, in fact, last week, is the issue with the money that it hasn't been spent, or is the issue that the funds that have been spent can't be accounted for? Because from what I can tell, out of the $150 million of flood relief money that's come in from the feds, it looks like they've only spent about $1 million of it. So are you telling me that small amount has been misspent?
Well, it's a weird thing. The money hasn't been spent. So that's actually like the part that's from HUD, Housing and Urban Development. There's money from FEMA. There's money from several other federal departments. It actually totals much more than $150 million. But you have essentially 3 problems. The money hasn't been spent to help people, and now we are literally more than 2 years after the flood. So there's still literally hundreds of people that are homeless or live in church basements, other people's houses, occasional FEMA trailers, but people who basically just haven't been communicated with, and they're still living as they did maybe 2 weeks after the flood. So that's your first problem. The second problem is the money that has been spent. The state auditor's looking into it. He's going to have a lot more to say on this going forward, but you can't tell where it's gone. It appears to have been paid to companies that haven't done anything yet in some cases. But the real problem for the governor is the cover-up. The governor's administration, based on documents we have, and Charleston paper and others have, knew back in November there was a problem. Didn't tell anybody. Instead of going to Patrick Morrisey, the Attorney General, the auditor, the U.S. Attorney, anybody in actual law enforcement, because they knew they thought they had a legal problem, a criminal problem with money being misspent. They hired their own lawyer, did their own investigation, and then did not tell anybody, did not share it with the legislature, the legislative auditor, still not shared it with Patrick, to my knowledge, for 4 or 5 months. So essentially they were trying to hide what they thought was a problem in time so that they would not screw up the sale of the road bonds last month. The reason they did that is because if you screw up federal money from HUD or FEMA, you could owe it back to them. You essentially get investigated or audited after the fact by the Office of Inspector General. OIG comes in, and there was a belief internally that they thought the state would owe money back to the feds, possibly not from this flood, from actually the last disasters, even the one in 2012, the derecho. But you could owe the feds tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars back if you've misspent their money. And that's what they feared, and that's why they, I think, tried to cover it up for so long. And that goes to the governor's office, and Bray Carey, the TV host of all things, that he allows to run the office on the 4 days he's not there per week.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of respect for Bray. I've heard that from a couple of different sources.
He's a bad dude. He is absolutely a bad dude.
Bad as in incompetent or bad as in a bad person?
Both. I think what you do is you go to folks at WHAG or in stations he's owned or worked for him, and you speak to them, and you'll get the message. I mean, there's not a person so universally loathed in this state, be you an $8 an hour custodian or an $800,000 a year TV anchor. Universally, there is no person less beloved, and I think that's why the media's teeing off this in Charleston. They hate Bray Carey and Jim Justice worse than they hate Donald Trump, and that says something.
Rob, it seems to me, though, when you move to impeachment, and this is where, I mean, my curiosity kind of gets piqued. I mean, I perhaps know a little bit more about impeachment at the federal level, and I'm pretty clear that if you're going to impeach a president, you have to have what amounts to a criminal offense. I mean, you have to have this overwhelming evidence that the president's committed a serious felony in order to even qualify for an impeachment hearing, much less a conviction. So I'm interested at the state level then. Is incompetence an impeachable offense? Is not showing up at the office an impeachable
absolutely.
offense?
Well,
can you walk us through the threshold for impeaching a governor? Because I think that's very confusing to me.
It's novel in this sense. The West Virginia statute, the Constitution on this, says the official can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, which is a very amorphous, undefined legal terminology. It's basically the discretion of the legislature to pull somebody's card, is the way you look at it. Not showing up for work, well, that's constitutional. The Constitution says the line officers and the governor should, I believe the term is, reside in the seat of government, which means live in Charleston. The governor obviously has a mansion and staff that provide to him he does not use. And on one hand, he says that saves everybody money. But the reality is he never comes to work. Would a court, you could go to court, make a mandamus filing, and try to make a court force him to live there. Would that work? I don't know. But it's symptomatic. And the governor, now that he's showing up for work, now that he's in a little trouble the last few days, has basically said at 3 consecutive public press conferences, I don't have to live in Charleston. What he's saying is the Constitution doesn't matter. So that's offensive. That's going to make the legislature and the media madder and madder by the day. In terms of being impeached for incompetence, that is exactly what happened in 88, 89, when the legislature impeached and forced the resignation of the state treasurer, a man named A. James Manchin, who was Joe Manchin's kind of strange uncle. And A. James Manchin at that point was a state treasurer. He had been Secretary of State. He'd been in the legislature. He was the nicest thing I'd say is a glad-handing politician. Not a very bright man, but he had been elected and moved up the chain. And he was state treasurer. And back then, the state treasurer got the privilege of handling the state's pension system, running it, making sure it was invested correctly. A. James Manchin let a couple folks in that office run the pensions, and he let them decide to learn how to be bond traders, junior bond traders, on our money, on our time. And they proceeded to lose almost $250 million, which in the 80s was still a lot of money. Because of his ignorance of finance, because of him not supervising these employees, A. James Manchin was fully impeached by the legislature. It went through the House Judiciary by a big vote. It went through the House and then was about to go to the Senate for the trial, as you would expect. And at that point, he then resigned. And there's this great picture of him surrounded by his family, including Joe Manchin, embarrassingly resigned. The guy literally didn't know that in a balance sheet, a number in parentheses was negative. He thought the state was doing great. They were down $250 million. So he was ostensibly impeached for incompetence. And that would be the key here. This impeachment would not be for a criminal charge. Jim Justice did not rob somebody specifically. Jim Justice didn't punch somebody in a bar fight. This would be, at least at this point, based on what we know, incompetence. And I'll tell you right now, the Democrat members of the House of Delegates, I think, would be 100% behind this, and that's 36 out of 100. I know you've got easily the first 10 Republican votes are there, and got to figure out 4 or 5 more, but that gets you to 51.
That was going to be my next question, actually, is where do you get the votes, and how does the math? How
long-winded, but I mean, I'm
that's
trying
fine.
to give you the full picture here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're used to long-winded politicians on this program, Ross. So
I apologize. I don't run for anything.
It's just fine. No, but I mean, that was going to be my next question. The math. So you're saying you'll have the entire Democratic Party caucus of 36.
I believe so, and I would suggest you guys get some Democrats. Maybe you're running out of them in the EP, at least on the elected side and in the House. But I would get Isaac Spinagle maybe from Pendleton County, or a couple guys out there, and talk to them. But I mean, it's definitely moving. I mean, Democrats are coming to me. People in state government are bringing documents and information to me, and we're getting them to law enforcement and the media. But this is a bipartisan thing. I'm a very partisan county chair. I'll freely admit that. But this is a deal. You know, we're going after a Republican governor and Republican judge. This is about good government, and that's why I think so many people are coming to the aid of this.
Rob Cornelius is with us on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. He is the chairman of the Republican Party in Wood County, West Virginia, and talking to us about a growing movement to bring impeachment proceedings against Governor Jim Justice. 51 votes in the House is what it would require. Who would propose the impeachment, Rob?
Well, I mean, any member, I believe, could propose it. The thing is, you'd have to have a session called or being called to try and add it or bring it up. And then once you get your 51, you get it to the House, it would be sent to House Judiciary, at which point, you know, that body votes. That's up to 25 members if they all show up. And then if they pass it, send it out, then it would go to the Senate for the trial. I mean, obviously, when this happened in the 80s, it was a bipartisan thing, and I believe the original number in the House, I believe the vote in the House ended up being about 2/3, which is what you would need to blow it out of committee. Even if you had a committee that was interested in doing it, and again, have not talked to that committee chair, about 2/3 is what ended up voting for the impeachment in 88, 89 of A. James Manchin, and the vote in the committee that year was about 2/3, about 18-7, that area. So that's kind of what you'd be looking for. You kind of have to play this, think you need 65 to 70 in the House, but I think that's pretty possible. And I think for Republicans, you have to ask yourself, look, this guy is embarrassing the party, this guy is damaging the state, and as a Republican, he's done nothing for the party. He refuses to endorse Attorney General Patrick Morrisey for Senate, and that's a problem. I mean, he's been asked several times in public, starting with last year when he switched parties.
Rob, I got to jump in here.
He refused to do that. Yeah.
We're running out of time. I got to get to the news. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Hey, guys, good talk. Appreciate it. Call me back. This story is going to be developing.
Thank you, sir. 8:31, our news break is next. We'll ask our own Republican delegate, one of them locally, Riley Moore, about this next.
News update. The Trump administration is defending growing criticism over its policy to separate immigrant parents and children at the southern border. Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Fox News.
This is a serious matter. We need to think it through, be rational and thoughtful about it. We want to allow asylum for people who qualify for it.
Christophe Boulierac with UNICEF.
Those who were left with no option but to flee their homes have the right to be protected access essential services, and be with their families, just like all children.
President Trump meets with House Republicans today as they consider immigration legislation. CBS's Paula Reed.
Some Republicans are worried that all of this could drag down the entire party during a critical election year. But other Republicans tell me they're actually giving voters exactly what they voted for, which is strict enforcement of our immigration laws.
CBS News Update. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. West Virginia U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito's announced that the state's eligible for federal funding of nearly $28 million through the Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in the form of state opioid response grants. These resources were included in the recent omnibus spending agreement, which also included language the senator secured to prioritize funding for states like West Virginia that are hit hardest by the drug crisis. City of Martinsburg offices will be closed tomorrow in observance of West Virginia Day, normal business hours resuming Thursday. The trash pickup schedule will remain the same, and tomorrow's recycling will be picked up instead next Thursday, the 28th. CNB Bank is hosting a Community Shred Day. Bring out your paper waste to the Hedgesville branch at 2646 Hedgesville Road this Friday from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. CNB asks that you not bring more than 4 boxes. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
It's a warm and muggy morning across the eastern panhandle, and we will see the increasing chance for a few scattered showers popping up into the afternoon, maybe a rumble of thunder. Lots of clouds, a few hints of sun, and temperatures into the upper 80s for the daytime high. Overnight tonight, readings dropping back to the mid-60s, so it does cool off a little bit. And then for tomorrow into tomorrow night, a better chance for more numerous showers and thunderstorms. Warmer and more humid air just to the south will be trying to advance this way once again. That'll trigger the rain. Forecast high lower 80s. Thursday partly sunny, 83 degrees. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Join us at the WVU Medicine Job Fair Wednesday, June 20th from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Holiday Inn on Foxcroft Avenue in Martinsburg. Learn about career opportunities and benefits available at Berkeley Medical Center, Jefferson Medical Center, and University Healthcare Physicians. Recruiters and hiring managers will be on site to conduct interviews for all departments. And please bring your resume with you. For more info, call 304-264-1259. We hope to see you at the WVU Medicine Job Fair Wednesday, June 20th. WVU Medicine is an equal opportunity employer.
As Asanovich goes to second with a 2 RBI double, and Martinsburg is on the board first.
This is West Virginia State Delegate and former Little League All-Star Jason Barrett. I can still remember those summer days, the fun of playing baseball, building friendships, and learning lessons that are still with me today as I serve the people of the 61st District. I'm proud to support this year's All-Stars and wish the best to each team.
61st District Delegate Jason Barrett. Trusted leadership, real solutions.
From the moment you're greeted at the front door, step back in time to a classic speakeasy-style restaurant and bar, Boyd's Steakhouse, featuring only the finest steaks, chops, and seafood. Come see why Boyd's Steakhouse is the friendliest place in town with the best food around. Open for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Boyd's Steakhouse on North Queen Street in the heart of downtown Martinsburg. Boyd's Steakhouse. How about tonight?
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, brought to you in this segment by the law offices of Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone, delivering first-rate service and results for our clients. And that law firm, soon to be, I think, like maybe Ferretti and Associates or Joe Ferretti Law Firm.
I think the phone has answered the Ferretti Law Firm when I called over there a couple of weeks ago, shortly after Mr. Hammer had been elected to the court. So
yes, he's a judge.
Our Cracker Jack research staff, Rob, during the break after our interview with Rob Cornelius, Republican chairman of Wood County, on the subject of impeachment, which he favors. If you heard the interview, you know he's a leader in that movement to impeach Governor Jim Justice. But our research staff looked this up for me, list of impeached governors in the United States. In history, only 8 governors in U.S. history have been forcefully removed from office through the impeachment process in their states. Impeachment is, as we know, a 2-step process that includes the lodging of charges against an office holder and the ensuing trial for those alleged high crimes. This is a key word now, high crimes and misdemeanors. We talked to Rob about that. Does whatever alleged wrongdoing the governor has done, do they amount to high crimes and misdemeanors? It is important to note, though, Rob, that while only 8 governors have been removed from power after impeachment, many more have been accused of crimes and were either acquitted or voluntarily resigned from office because their states do not allow convicted felons to hold elected office.
Which I think is good policy.
Oh, that's a good thing. Yeah, we don't want any convicted felons holding public office. That is
accused is one thing, Dave. Convicted is another.
There you go.
You can tolerate accused.
Yeah, lots of accusations in politics. Of course, the latest one that's gotten some publicity on there is Rod Blagojevich of Illinois.
Blagojevich. Good job.
And that's Polish, I think, isn't it?
I'm
pretty sure that is. Anyway, he was the governor of Illinois, and you may recall that he was impeached by the legislature in Illinois and then convicted and is currently still in prison over this.
He didn't get out yet?
Hasn't got out yet.
Oh, I thought he got out.
And he got out because they convicted him of some minor crime. The allegation that got all the publicity is that he tried to sell Obama's state Senate seat to the highest bidder. But that's not what he was convicted for. He was convicted for illegal fundraising of some sort.
Yes, selling seats.
But it works, it's a good fundraiser.
It really is. Yeah.
But he's still in prison, and Trump now is suggesting that he might pardon him and get him out. And on this issue, I'm just going to say I'm taking Trump's side on this. The guy's been in jail, in prison for 8 years. I mean, that's crazy.
Okay.
I mean,
he did his time.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, he did his time. He's been in, I don't know the guy. I don't know if I like the guy, but 8 years, that's long enough for whatever crime he was.
Have you seen our Shelley Moore Capito photo? Senator Capito sent a photo to our station here, to the team at WRNR. Thanks for your hard work, Shelley Moore Capito.
Especially David Welch.
Actually, doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that. Okay. I thought it might say that in small print down at the bottom.
There it is. I held it up to the camera. If it was a 3D camera, it would go like this.
Well, thank you, Senator Capito. How nice of her. And she met with the president yesterday.
Yes, she did.
On the immigration issue, I guess, the whole thing. And by the way, speaking of that issue, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, at some point this week, but this whole ugly issue of families being separated at the border, Senator Manchin now has put his name on the bill to make that illegal, to not separate families at the border. So I just read that this morning. He's now a co-author on that bill.
On the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line, since we like to keep it all in the family, is Delegate Riley Moore. And this morning, Riley, we say hello to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Great, thank you.
And to the best of my memory, Rob, we do not have a Riley Moore picture in here with a signature at the bottom.
There is not one signed, autographed Delegate Riley Moore photo in the entire building that I am aware of.
I've not seen
Let's
one.
ask our intern, Savon, who handles our mail for us. Savon, did you see any 8.5 by 11 full-color glossy photos of Delegate Moore autographed and signed? Good luck and best wishes to Rob and Dave anywhere here.
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's it.
To be fair, I actually don't have any 8 by 11 glossy photos of myself at all.
Wallet size?
I don't even have those.
Well, we'll take one of your wife and the baby then. That's fine.
That's a better photo.
How's that baby doing?
Oh, she's doing good. She's had a little mercy on us here lately and been sleeping a little bit longer. So,
oh yeah.
I slept like 5 hours last night, and it feels like 20.
Oh, yeah. That's gold, baby.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, man.
Are you that kind of dad that gets up in the middle of the night and does the dad thing?
Yeah.
Good for you. I was thinking, since you were such an important corporate executive and high-ranking, state delegate, that you didn't have to do those kinds of things at home.
Oh no.
No, nobody's above their fatherly duty.
Speaking of duty, how's the diaper duty going along there, sir?
Well,
Have you mastered
I'm on that detail as well.
Nice. Do you have one of those diaper genies where you make like little sausages out of them and then you throw them all away?
Yeah.
That's good.
Right on in there.
My oldest didn't sleep through the night till he was 11 months old, I think. And then when he did, we thought something bad had happened because he never did. And then and he would get up like 3, 4, 5 times a night. He was a horrible sleeper. And then he slept for like a week. He slept through the night, and then that was it for like the next 2 years, too.
When my first was being born, the discussion of diaper service came up. I don't know if they still have diaper service anymore, but back in the old days. And I looked at this person who was telling me about diaper service. I said, you mean when they poop, they'll come over and change the diapers? And they said, no. That's not how it works.
That's what Ann B. Davis is for.
Just think of the money you could make if you had a business like that, though.
Ooh, that'd be something to look forward to every day.
The first time she slept 5 hours, I kept waking up. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like continually checking on her, so it actually wasn't as restful. But last night actually was a little more so.
Well, the best advice I was given on this was by a good friend of mine, John. His radio name was John Taylor, worked in this area about 25 years ago, and is no longer in the radio field. But he said to me after his second was born, he said, and we were anticipating our second at this time, he said, you know how you thought with one you weren't getting any sleep? And I said, yeah. He goes, you were getting plenty of sleep. Just kind of warning me what it was like to have 2 little ones at the same time. So not to scare you away, Riley, but anyway.
Riley Moore, are we going to save the Mauck train in West Virginia?
Well, look, I saved it this year, and as long as I'm elected into office, the Mauck train is going to continue to operate. I have no doubt in that. Senator Blair and Auditor J.B. McCuskey, we were able to find this stopgap measure. We'll certainly be able to deliver the same type of result next year till whenever we do find a solution. But actually, we just had a summit around this in Jefferson County that went very well, and we had Secretary Tom Smith, Department of Transportation, Ann Erling, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Governor's Office, Jefferson County and Berkeley county commissions were there, and the local state legislators. And that's really what this solution is going to look like. It's going to be a whole of government, so state, local, and federal. And I would point out that actually the town of Harpers Ferry has already committed money to continue the Mauck train service. So it's going to be a whole of government solution here that is that we're going to come to, that's going to continue this train service. Now, I would point out this is the first money that's ever gone to this train service. I did hear my opponent on the radio here recently talking about one-time capital improvements in 1983, but those are capital improvements. That's not money for service. And I'd certainly be remiss if I didn't mention at the point at which we had fare increases and lost stops, my opponent was the delegate, had been there for 20 years at least, and was the vice chairman of finance. So I can guarantee you that won't be the result when I'm in office.
Riley, I keep hearing about negotiations with the state of Maryland to bring their fee request down. They want $3.6 million, $3.2 million
3.2
from West Virginia. Who would be in charge of these negotiations, and when would they begin?
Well, I will tell you this. We have the best negotiator on our side in the entire state legislature. You would not want to be on the opposite side of this gentleman, Senator Craig Blair. So we got him working on where he thinks we're going to be able to find a number, and Craig certainly thinks that we're going to be able to arrive at a number that's lower than that. But another great piece of news here, speaking of Senator Capito, I've been working with Senator Capito's office since January to get federal appropriations language in the appropriations bill, the THUD bill, that's Transportation, Housing, Urban Development, to continue service of the Mauck train. And I'm happy to report, because we did have a press release on this here recently, that after months of working with Senator Capito's office, we were actually able to get language in the appropriations bill, and it passed the Appropriations Committee, and it is on to full consideration by the full Senate. And if that language passes, it will lay the groundwork for us to be able to get some federal matching dollars, I think, down the road.
When did that get through the Appropriations Committee, Riley?
That was last week.
That's great news.
So that doesn't actually appropriate the money. That paves the way for the money to be appropriated. Is that correct?
Well, it could end up, in practice, appropriating that money. The money is report language, which is urging the FTA, Federal Transit Authority, to ensure that, and they've done this in the past, to use their money to ensure that federal workers are still able to get into Washington, D.C. Via rail system by neighboring states. So that would include Mauck in West Virginia, Mauck in Maryland, and the VRE in Virginia. So we formed a little coalition there of the neighboring states at which would benefit from the FTA getting involved and ensuring that federal workers are still able to have rail access into Washington, D.C., which then lowers congestion and so on and so forth in the D.C. metropolitan area.
That's a super smart strategy. Who came up with that?
That would be me.
Well, congratulations on that. That is a really smart strategy, because because everyone in the country is competing for federal dollars, right? You have to kind of come up with a really good reason that makes sense, and getting federal workers to their jobs. That's
right, and
that's pretty smart.
Then when you throw in Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia, you got a bipartisan coalition of some pretty strong senators there that were supporting this language. So that's how it was able to pass, and I think it will pass in the full Senate and make it through the conference committee as well. So that was certainly a very good step here in the process. So we'll know by the end of the year what that's going to look like, and then as we go into legislative session in January, if there's able to be a federal match, then we'll be able to adjust accordingly when we're down in Charleston.
And so it's possible, if I read this right, it's possible if the federal funding comes in through this strategy that you've developed and the coalition you've organized, would that mean that this $3.2 million or whatever it is that Maryland needs from West Virginia would not be money that West Virginia would have to come up with? Is that how that
Correct.
would work? Okay.
Now, we'd still have to put money in. Every dollar in would be a dollar matched.
So it might be only half of that then.
That's right.
I see.
And that's the plan here.
So here's a question for you, because oftentimes when the federal government, or state government for that matter, subsidizes something, and you can cite examples, many examples, where should the government subsidize and where shouldn't it subsidize? Now, one of the things we know, that if there was no government subsidy here, and that the riders themselves had to pay for the extra money it cost Maryland to come into the 3 stops in West Virginia every day, that the fares would be so high that they would be unaffordable and people would be back in their cars. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
So,
or I mean, I had scores of individuals email me through this process saying they'll move. They'll just move into Maryland or Virginia.
Well, and before you finish your sentence, Riley and David, to follow up on David's point, for anybody who objects to this subsidy, every mass transit system in this country that I am aware of is largely subsidized and exists based on government funding.
Amtrak.
There is not a commuter service out there that survives simply on fares alone. And in fact, from what I gather,
because the fares would be so high, you wouldn't be able to afford it.
And that's the reason why they're subsidized by government, because it leads to a better quality of life for everybody in the community if you're not sitting in gridlock every time you want to go somewhere in your car. And if you make everybody drive to work in their car, that's exactly what you're going to have.
So the standard, where I'm trying to get at with this question, because I know Riley's a Republican and leans on the conservative side most of the time, and I'm wondering where is that the criterion, Riley? Because you don't want to spend more public money than is necessary. Conservatives campaign on that all the time about spending less. But as you know, if you take the ridership on the Mauck train of West Virginians, it's thousands of dollars per rider per year. That's the people who object to this. That's what they'll tell you. At what point do you say, hey, I'm willing to do that with public money, but I'm not so willing to do it with public money, let's say, to make sure that we have movies that are made in West Virginia? I'm just picking that out of the hat. Where is that line of demarcation?
Well, I think any conservative would agree that the government should pay for roads. The government should pay for transportation. It's this greater good that in service that is provided for, and I don't see rail really as any different than that. And, it gives us tremendous access to a number of job markets in the Washington, D.C. area, and allows us to compete on a level that the rest of the state is not able to. And I would point out, this is all being done with no tax increases. It was done this year when we passed this with no tax increases. What we are doing is getting more of our money back here in the Eastern Panhandle that we pay in. Jefferson and Berkeley County, top 10 payers of personal income tax in the entire state of West Virginia. So what we are doing is getting more of our money back. That's it. There's no tax increases here associated with this whatsoever.
Well, and there's some people who are listening to this saying maybe the government should also pay for health care, because that's pretty important too. But that's a topic for another program. We'll save that. I wanted to get your comment on, or your thoughts on this impeach the governor. So I'm completely radically changing subjects on you. Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right,
and let me throw out a little factoid for you, since y'all were talking about governors who had been impeached in Illinois, and I just heard this because I was at the GoPac conference there. 4 of the last 9 governors of Illinois have gone to federal prison.
Well, yeah, you could throw New Jersey. They had a little streak, I think, going there for a while as well. Yeah, Illinois has not been friendly to governors.
No, 4 of the last 9. That is...
Got to be the only race you run for you want to lose.
I have to tell you that I was from 1988-ish, late 80s, through about 2000-ish, I was the Republican State Senate and Republican Party consultant in Illinois. And
my gosh.
And so I know Illinois politics very well. And someday we'll have a beer and talk about it.
I'm sure you got some interesting stories. That's pretty wild.
I'm telling you, politics is a blood sport in Illinois. You think that this is mamby-pamby here in West Virginia compared to Illinois. People say, "Oh, someone attacked me in Illinois." It would be weird not to be attacked.
Let's turn that attack to Governor Justice right now, because we just talked with Rob Cornelius, chairman of the Republican Party in Wood County, who says there's a growing movement. He thinks all 36 Democrats right now in the state house would vote to impeach the governor, and maybe 10 Republicans would jump on that bandwagon as well. Riley, from what you've seen with flood relief and the complaints about the governor not being in the Capitol, not having competent people there to run business when he's not, would you vote for impeachment of Governor Justice right now?
Well, first I'd say all 36 Democrats supporting that, I guess they got a little buyer's remorse since they campaigned and voted for him.
They're the ones that put him in, yep.
So that
was snarky, Riley. That was a little snarky.
It was accurate,
Yeah,
though.
it was accurate, but I just...
Republicans wanted Bill Cole.
Call him out on it.
Yeah. It's like, if people just listen to us, we wouldn't be dealing with this.
Darn those people.
In any event, look, here's a couple things that I'd say. One, it is said and stated clearly in the Constitution that the governor has to live in Charleston. That is a fact. That's certainly something to consider the mismanagement of this flood relief money is a disaster, and certainly some of the individuals that he has had in his service are troubling. That said, as David read there just a little while ago, high crimes and misdemeanors. Well, I'm not sure at this point what high crimes and misdemeanors have been committed, but if they are, and if they have been, then we certainly need to move towards considering something like that. But to my knowledge right now, I don't know of any high crimes or misdemeanors.
Do you know what my opinion...
Unless Rob and Cornelius had pointed one out.
His was mostly about incompetence in people who are running things while he's not in office, and he cited the A.J. Manchin bond trading fiasco that left the state $250 million in debt.
And not showing up for work.
Yep.
He cited that too, that there's an expectation to show up for work. You know, as I think about this governor, if he would have done the right moral, ethical thing to have done, in my opinion, would have been when he decided to switch parties, he should have resigned the governorship and made an announcement he'll run as a Republican. I just have a problem with people running in one party and switching to another party without, it's just my own thing, I guess. It's certainly not an impeachable offense, but I mean, the voters voted for him as a Democrat. He should have stayed a Democrat until the next election and then run as a Republican. I have no problem with that, but changing in the middle of it is just is troubling.
And not even in the middle of it, 1/4 of the way through.
Yeah, not even. So that just bothers me. I'm not a big fan of this governor, and I try to keep those kinds of opinions to myself. But there's nothing that he has done in the time he's been governor that strikes me as being convincing that he is doing the right kind of thing when it comes to leadership. Having said that, right now as I sit here, and even though Rob Cornelius made a compelling argument for incompetence or whatever, I'm not seeing this as a reason for impeachment, Riley. And I want to ask you this. Wouldn't an impeachment just be a huge distraction to the real business that needs to get taken care of in the state?
30 seconds, Riley.
As of right now, I'd agree with that, but I think that the legislature needs to really focus in on the activities that are taking place in this administration to make sure they are on the level. And I think right now it seems to be so, but additional scrutiny in this matter, I think, is certainly prudent.
Hey, get some sleep, dude.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Riley. You brought it today. Appreciate it.
Yep. Talk to y'all later.
Delegate Riley Moore with us on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line at 9 o'clock. You know, West Virginia Day is tomorrow, Dave.
It is, and government employees have the day off.
So County Councilwoman Elaine Mauck is here with us today. More on that and more paid firefighters, perhaps, after the news. This is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Zoom Video Conferencing.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. The wrenching sounds of children crying for their parents at an immigration center on the southern border. The group ProRepublica has released the audio. CBS News has not confirmed its authenticity, but it's adding to the pressure for the Trump administration to end its separation policy. Attorney General Jeff Sessions tells Fox News.
We want to end this process of children being brought across dangerous territory, placing those children at risk. If they want to claim asylum, let them go through the port of entry.
President Trump ready to meet with House Republicans as they consider two immigration bills. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe.
The president is meeting with GOP lawmakers today to talk about broader issues of immigration policy, not just those families separated at the border. There are two competing proposals on the table that the House is set to vote on this week, but neither has even enough Republican support to pass right now. That could change today if the president endorses either plan.
A couple from Silicon Valley has raised millions of dollars through social media to help reunite immigrant families. Live to CBS's Vicki Barker.
Charlotte and Dave Wilner set out to raise $1,500 through their Facebook campaign. 4 days, $4 million, and 97,000 donors later. Their new target is $5 million. Among the donors, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg. The money is earmarked for a Texas nonprofit called RACES that provides free legal and other services to refugees. A RACES spokeswoman telling USA Today the group is blown away. Deborah.
All signs point to an early sell-off on Wall Street after a threat by President Trump to impose a second round of tariffs on China. S&P futures are down 27, Dow futures off 344. Economist Jay Bryson says Beijing could retaliate against U.S. businesses that operate inside China.
Even though we only export $130 billion, there's other steps that the Chinese could take, and it could make life difficult, not only for U.S. consumers, but also for American businesses as well.
China calls the president's threat to impose levies on an additional $200 billion worth of imports blackmail. Week after he met with President Trump in Singapore, North Korea's Kim Jong-un is in China. State TV says Kim met with President Xi Jinping to brief him on the summit. Reporter Don Kirk from Seoul.
The fact that Beijing let it be known that Kim Jong-un was visiting shows the closeness of the relationship. It shows that they're tightening the bond, that he no longer has to go in secrecy with the news disclosed later after he's left.
This is CBS News.
Zoom video conferencing, featuring video and audio clarity with screen sharing. Free accounts are available at Zoom.us. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Doors are being slammed in your face, and bad credit is holding you back from buying a house, car, even getting a credit card. $99 can put your credit back to a 720 or higher. That's right, just $99. Bankruptcy, tax liens, judgments, and even late pays can be removed from credit reports by calling the Giving Days Foundation. A nonprofit organization is here to help. Federal law allows you to challenge each and every item on your credit report. We'll recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 and repair your personal credit for free. Just be one of the first 10 callers. Take our personal credit challenge. Get your credit score to a 720. 800-482-4094. Call now to recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 and repair your personal credit for free. Call now. 800-482-4094. Don't miss this great free credit repair. Just be one of the first 10 callers. 800-482-4094.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. He got more than 12 years in prison after admitting to selling heroin in Berkeley County in January of last year. 36-year-old DeMarco Davis Jr., or Tip, of Inwood, pleaded guilty back in March and was sentenced yesterday, according to U.S. Attorney Bill Powell. The Eastern Panhandle Drug and Violent Crimes Task Force and the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office investigated. James Rumsey Technical Institute is holding robotics boot camps on July 12th and 13th, July 19th and 20th, and July 30th and 31st. The camps are open to incoming 8th, 9th, and 10th graders and will be held from 8 till 2. Only 16 students will be permitted to take part. The material covered includes shop safety, 3D printing, 3D modeling, engineering journaling, robot design and build, virtual programming, and robotic programming. You can find out more and register at jamesrumsey.com. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
It's a warm and muggy morning across the Eastern Panhandle, and we will see the increasing chance for a few scattered showers popping up into the afternoon, maybe a rumble of thunder. Lots of clouds, a few hints of sun, and temperatures into the upper 80s for the daytime high. Overnight tonight, readings dropping back to the mid-60s, so it does cool off a little bit. And then for tomorrow into tomorrow night, a better chance for more numerous showers and thunderstorms. Warmer and more humid air just to the south will be trying to advance this way once again. That'll trigger the rain. Forecast high lower 80s. Thursday partly sunny, 83 degrees. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
The future doesn't wait. Why should you? Blue Ridge Community and Technical College offers over 50 degree and certificate programs in education, IT, culinary arts, engineering, and so much more. Small class sizes, flexible schedules with evening and online classes, with affordable tuition, plus financial aid is available to those who qualify. Now you can go to college. Visit us online at blueridgectc.edu. That's blueridgectc.edu. Stop waiting and enroll today.
Are you looking for a full-service web design company right here in the Eastern Panhandle? Then look no further than Pro Design LLC, specializing in web design and development, web hosting, and application development. Pro Design is a locally owned company serving local clients since 1997 with a reputation of quality, creativity, and personal touch. Let Pro Design build or redesign your dream website. Find them online at professionaldesign.com or phone 304-676-9940.
Talk Radio WRNR is keeping you informed with sportscasts throughout the day. Every half hour from 6 to 8 with Rob Mario. Then at the bottom of the hour from 12:30 to 4:30 with Matt Miller and Matt Crawford, who will then join you each weeknight at 5 p.m. for an in-depth look at sports on Miller Time. And don't forget the weekends with Mike Emery each Saturday and Sunday morning on your area home for local and regional sports news. Talk Radio WRNR, your local leader in talk, news, sports.
Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave on a busy Tuesday, brought to you by the Berkeley County Health Department, located at 122 Waverly Court in Martinsburg, offering public, clinical, and environmental services and flu shots.
I want to tell you something, Rob, about the owner of the station, Mike Hornby. Just was in the room here. Loves to come in and say hello during the middle of the show, usually during a break.
He owns the place. Why not?
Yeah, he can go wherever. It's his studio, the Mike Hornby studio that we occupy. And so I said, we're going to be discussing in this next segment whether or not we should, the citizens of Berkeley County, should have a fire fee or not to pay a professional, fire staff here. That's the issue.
Sure.
I said, Mike, you got to tell me, do you want me to be for that or against that? And he, in so many words, said, I don't tell you what position to take. That's up to you. And so I think our listeners should know that we are free to have our own opinions.
When did
he
he start that?
I think just about a minute
Just about a minute ago. Yeah, because I don't think he always had that policy.
So here's what I told you, that I met a new friend today at the gym, and she informed me that I'm a little bit more conservative than she would like for me to be on the air, and as a show. But she likes us anyway, and she listens every morning. And Hornby will come in and call me a rhino and a liberal. So I don't know what to think.
Just be yourself, man.
Just be myself.
You got to be who you are.
You got to. There's a song about that, isn't there? Gotta be me. There it is. I gotta be me.
If you're who you are, you'll never be somebody else, Dave.
There you go.
And if you're never somebody else, you'll never have to lie about what you are. And if you never have to lie, you never have to remember your answers. And if you never have to remember your answers, you'll always be in a good place when you answer a question.
And you're reminding me now why I come in here every morning. Mm-hmm. I come here for inspiration.
I hope I gave you some.
From 8 to 10 every morning. I come here to be inspired by Rob Mario.
Thank you.
And occasionally our listeners.
Savon, are you inspired duly so far to this point?
So inspired.
See, you can hear it in her voice.
Yeah, you can. I think she's stepping up there.
If I had
Savon
a business,
is our intern, of course.
If I had a business, I would want Savon's voice on my phone.
That's it.
Right?
I love her voice.
Right, Savon, can I hear you say, "Thank you for calling Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. How may I help you?"
Thank you for calling Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. How may I help you?
See, now doesn't that just soothe and relax you?
That's a good call.
If you were like a nervous caller, wouldn't that soothe you?
That would calm you right down.
I'm so nervous about calling the show, but you call,
and then you get that voice, and then if you're an outraged caller,
next thing you know, you're hosting.
I can't believe what Rob Mario said, and then she talks you down.
She calls you, yeah,
she calms you down, yeah.
Savon Hunter,
yeah,
world calmer.
Yeah, we welcome calls here.
Savon is our intern. Sherry.
263-6540. If Rob goes on a rant and you disagree with it, please give us a call and tell him why he was wrong.
Once every 2 months, I think. Sherry Dieter Davis is our producer, and our guest right now is County Councilwoman Elaine Mauck. Elaine, good morning. Thank you for coming in today.
Well, good day, fellas.
Tomorrow's West Virginia Day, by the way.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. 155 years.
Yeah, day off for state employees. Right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And county.
Yes.
City taken off, too?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
I can tell you that I have a personal connection there.
All right, cool. So happy West Virginia Day, a day in advance, Elaine. We've often in the past had you in on West Virginia Day to talk a little bit about the history of the state and whatever. And Today, we could touch on that a little bit, but mostly we're here to talk about fire fees and some requests that are being made to go to some full-time firefighters at the local fire stations here. Elaine, can you tell us what you know about this at this time?
Well, the fire fees, the situation, of course, no one likes to raise taxes, and we have a great group of volunteers. But unfortunately, back in September, Baker Heights came to us and stated that their volunteers, they were having trouble manning the station because answering calls. And then later on in May of this year, Back Creek Valley came forward. So it showed us that we were having problems. So we did an analyzation of all the calls, and in the last year we had 4,800 calls. Unfortunately, 1,200 were not able to be answered quickly and promptly, and that's serious. And then the calls that were being made, many times there were 2 people involved. But according to safety code, you're supposed to have 4 people at a position because you have to have 2 in, 2 out. So
and we don't have that with the all-volunteer staffs or mostly volunteer staffs.
We do not have that with mostly volunteer staff. And the county itself, I believe, does 6 to 6, Monday through Friday.
So the answer then is to do what?
Is to go forward with paid positions here at these stations to assist the volunteers.
And did I hear it would require the hiring of 60 full-time firefighters and staff?
Yes.
And how would we pay for that?
Well, what we're looking at is the fire fee. We get Prosecutor Delegate had talked to the Attorney General and said that we could use the fire fees for contracting services with the firemen, and so that's what we're looking at.
And they would be paid employees of the county, such as the sheriff, deputy sheriffs are. Is that true?
Yes.
If this were to pass.
Right.
And do you have any research on other counties of our size, whether they have a volunteer or a professional fire department? In other words, what I'm trying to get at, are we at about that size county where most counties of this similar size would have a professional fire department?
At this point, I was going to check into Kanawha because I don't know what Kanawha has, but I don't believe any other county in the state has paid volunteer.
Oh, is that right?
I don't believe
so. We would be the only one if this were to pass.
We were the first one to have a hybrid where we were trying to assist.
Bill Stubblefield worked on that, did you not? Mr.
Stubblefield worked on that, and the other issue is when I go to county meetings, a lot of the counties are having a problem with folks because of age. The age of Berkeley, of West Virginia, is getting older. Most of the volunteers that have been volunteers for years are in their 60s, and consequently, I don't know of very many 60-some-year-olds that want to run and jump on top of a fire truck to go haul equipment and things of that nature, because it is a demanding job.
I heard another news report this week, and I'm trying to make up my mind about this. I think I told you before we sat down. I don't have an opinion on this issue yet because I need to learn more about it. And I'm just talking as a taxpayer and as a citizen of Berkeley County, not as a talk show host here. So I will come to my decision at some point, as other people will too. But there was an alarming number of fires that did not get addressed, or there was no response to fires this past year.
There was 1,200, 1,200 that was not correct. Yeah, that we did not. They were scratched.
That seems high to me. I mean, that right there. That seems to be a very good reason to have this professional fire department.
That's
I would think
3.5 fires per day. You're telling us were not addressed in a timely fashion. 1,200 in the course of a year.
Yeah.
So how much will this cost, and how much will the average person have to pay to have this, Elaine?
Well, in the analyzation of the fire fee correctly, at this particular point, the fire fees as in place is about $2.1 million income. But that covers equipment and all the safety equipment and
That's
gear.
what we have right now.
That's what we have right now.
Okay.
And it brings in about 2.1. Because safety gear is timely. You can only use it for so many years, and then you have to replace masks and all the stuff that you have to put on and everything else. It's a safety issue. But then you go to start looking at the cost, and we're looking at tripling the fire fee. So if your fee was $35, it's $105.
Is $35 the most a person pays in fire fees in the county?
No, that's where we start. But then the city, if you're looking at just
how's that based by? Is that based?
It goes by square footage.
Square footage of your house?
Yes.
Okay.
So it starts off at 35. So if you were paying 35, it'll be 105. If you compare it to the city has about 16 square miles or whatever, and it's $90 for the regular residents per household, the city. And ours is over 300 square miles that we're trying to cover with 5 stations. So
I'm sorry, go ahead, Elaine.
Well, it's a lot of space and time. So you need folks that can be ready and to go out to do that, because your time between the call coming in and the time to get to the problem is extended by distance.
Delegate Mike Folk had texted a message to us that said West Virginia Code 71712 has a requirement of a 10% voter petition before a fire fee can be raised. Are you familiar with that code, Elaine?
Yes, sir, and I checked it out this morning, and from what I understand, the 10% was to establish the fire fee, not to whether or not you could raise it. That was my understanding as currently been addressed in the state.
Yeah, I think that's how I read that code, too. It
Yes.
seems to, the one that, because I got the same text that Rob did, and that's what it seems like. Before you can do anything, I would put it on the ballot or whatever, you have to have 10% of the voters in Berkeley County sign a petition.
Right.
Is there an effort underway to do that?
Well, the fire fee's been in place since 2002.
Okay, so we don't have to do that again then?
Not that I understand. I mean, that was the ruling to establish the fire fee.
So it's all to establish the original one.
Yeah.
So once it's established, then the county council can raise that. Is that how it works?
Well, the county council, based on the fire board, there's very strict regulations. It's defined on who's on the fire board and the needs of the community. The county council doesn't arbitrarily and capriciously raise the fire fee.
Okay.
Your cousin Roy is on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line with a question. Roy, good morning. Thanks for calling.
Well, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing there?
We're doing fine. How are you doing, Roy?
Doing good, cuz. How you doing?
Okay. What can I do for you?
Well, I guess Mike and Rob and Dave kind of said it. I'm reading a text, or not a text, but a Facebook thing that Mike Folk said yesterday at 10:30. Hey, Berkeley County, do you get the 10% of the voters to sign off on the tripling increase of the fire fee as required by state code yet? Now, does that mean, is he saying that the fire fee is going to triple?
Okay, first of all, the fire fee is, if your bill is $35, it's going to $105. It is going to triple. Because what happens is...
This isn't a done deal yet, correct?
No, this is what the proposal is. The proposal, in order to pay for the adequate number of firemen at each station, we're going to need about $4 million. So the current rates are only raising 2. And your fees start at $35.
Does this affect the ambulance fee?
No, that's a different board. That's a totally different board.
Okay.
Now, Delegate Folk, in the code that he had sent a text to us, in the last sentence, Elaine, it says, procedures set forth in this section for the initial levy of such a fee shall be followed by the county commission in the event an increase is sought. So you could read that and say, if you want to increase that fee, you still need to get the 10% petition.
Well, I wasn't, I hadn't, because I had asked for a ruling on that, and what I got was to establish it. So.
Did you go through the county attorney?
I asked a question with the attorney, yes, sir.
Okay. I assume this is going to be challenged at some point. So I would guess a thorough reading of this is going to be required, and some back and forth on it.
So there has to be a vote, right? This has to be a vote of the people to increase the fee. Is that true or false?
Okay. Right now, it is presented to the county council.
Right.
According to what Mike has brought up, that there has to be a petition.
Okay, whether there has to be a petition or not, it still has to ultimately be passed by the voters to increase the fee. It does not.
No.
You need 10% of the. So you need 10% of the voters to sign a petition, according to Mike Folk.
And it would be concerning, let's say, the last election, probably, that he showed up for the last election. So there was about 11,000 that showed up.
Well, it doesn't really say that. You know what it says is the.
It says qualified voters.
Qualified voters.
Well, go back and look up the definition of qualified voters.
Okay.
It has to do with the numbers that showed up.
So it does. Okay. I mean that makes sense to me, Elaine. I mean, but I could also argue the other way too. That whether you vote or not, it still means you're a qualified voter.
Yeah.
So there has to be some clarification. Of course, you have an attorney, could probably issue a ruling on this one way or the other, so we would know one way or the other.
Well, we had gotten a ruling from the Attorney General saying that we could do this.
You do have a ruling from the State Attorney General, okay, saying that you could do this. All right, there you go. Might be challenged in court then, I would think.
Probably.
Now, we also have Delegate Mike Falk on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. Roy, by the way, thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Roy.
We go to Mike right now. Mike, good morning.
Good morning.
You have a question for me?
Well, I mean, first of all, you just read the biggest phrase is that, first of all, I'd like to go back when this was passed sometime in the 80s. Did they ever get to 10% to start with? And
10% of voter petition when it was initially established?
Yeah, and I'd always heard rumors for years that never did. And, of course, and I wasn't, I'm going to get credit where credit is due. A friend of mine, a former deputy sheriff, is the one that pointed out that last sentence in that last paragraph to me. And I read it, and I'm in the process of talking to some attorneys on it, but from my reading of the code, it's pretty clear that you have to get 10% every time you go for an increase, which means they violated the law in 2015 also. And just because you get away with violating the law doesn't mean you get away with it every time. It's just kind of like driving down 45 if Rob's coming to work and he decides to go 80 miles an hour one day because he's late and he doesn't get caught. But the next day he's late and he drives 80 miles an hour down 45 and he gets caught. It doesn't excuse you because you weren't caught the first time.
So, Mike, first of all, I really appreciate you pointing this out to us because it's not something we would have known had you not done that, and I think it's good that we talk about that. But I think at the end of the day, all of that stuff's going to get worked out one way or the other, I would think. And there might be two sides to this, two ways to read this. But at the end of the day, what you're really about is not having an additional fee to pay a professional fire department. That's what your real goal is here, isn't it? It's not really to have an idle discussion about how to read a code. It's really that you oppose having a fire fee.
No, my real goal is for the government to do their job without laying more cost on the citizenry. And I started researching the county budgets when the previous budgets, I attended the public hearing on raising the pay for the deputies, which needed to be done. Of course, at that time, they were talking about passing a levy. But they found money to do it without the levy. And quite frankly, if you look closely at their budgets, you'll see certain areas have increased dramatically. And these are not areas where they're providing services. I know one, and this is before Elaine got there, one particular part of the county commission's budget, and I'm just going off the top of my head because it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I looked at it, literally it doubled in 1 year and had nothing to do with providing services. It had to do with providing very large salaries for certain individuals, it appeared at that time.
Are you talking about last year, Mike, recently?
No, this has been several years ago. Literally, they almost doubled a portion of the county commission's budget in 1 year.
Okay, so right now where we are, the county council, Elaine, I'm going to be sure I'm right about this. The 5 of you on the county council, are you in favor, all of you in favor of an additional fee for fire protection to raise the 2.1 or whatever million you need to have a paid fire department in Berkeley County? Is that true?
Okay, at this particular point, we have not had the public hearings in order to establish exactly all the ins and outs, and these are some of the things that are coming up.
Are you in favor of going forward with a vote? Having this come to the council, and if it came to the council, are you prepared to say you would vote yes or no on this, or do you know yet?
Right now, we've got to do everything across all the T's and dot all the I's, but because of safety, we're in charge of safety for the state, for the county. Because of safety in these issues, I'm in favor of doing something because we have to go to somehow to pay these guys. And our budget right now is 80% generated, employee generated.
And I'll add one thing, and I talked to another county council member, and since I was talking to him privately, I'm not going to say who it was, but they basically said they're not in favor of the fire fees, but they were in favor of proceeding just to get public comment. Now, the one thing I will say, and some of these numbers that have been put out, and I've got this secondhand I'm waiting for the documentation. Some of the numbers aren't accurate on some of the stuff that's been said about different figures. And like I said, I'm waiting for the actual figures so I can look at them. But oftentimes what is said in public, you have to look at, and I'll give you an example. I mean, I've been talking, everybody knows about PEIA, so I'll give an example there.
Mike, do me a favor. Don't go down that path because that's going to take extra time that we don't have this morning. Let's stay on the fire fee. Here.
Well, I mean, you have to look at, everybody has a motive. Everybody has a motive. And sometimes they use scare tactics as a motive. And I will just say that I'm in favor of helping take care of, as an example, the volunteer firefighters. I mean, Pat McGee and myself, because they're having a problem recruiting volunteer firefighters.
Yes, they are. Yes.
And we've spent $500,000 or $600,000 on advertising trying to get volunteer firefighters. But yet, if we passed a law that said if you're a volunteer firefighter, you don't pay income taxes to the state of West Virginia, I guarantee you'd have more people signing up. That's why Pat McGee and myself put a bill in to do just that.
And we paid $500,000 to $600,000 in this state to advertise for more volunteer firefighters.
It was a grant for Berkeley
did that
County.
in the county.
Berkeley County. It was
just in
a grant. It was a grant.
Federal grant?
Yeah.
Federal grant. Okay. All right.
No. I think some of that money was state. I might be wrong, but I think that.
Elaine says it was
money.
federal.
It's federal money.
Yeah.
Well, typically federal money usually requires a state match of some sort. Not always, but sometimes.
No, not in this case. Elaine says.
Not that I know.
All right, Mike. We're going to do more on this as time goes along.
Either way, it's taxpayer money.
One way or the other. But we're going to do more on this as time goes along. Thank you for pointing out that part of the code. Much appreciated. And we're going to be revisiting this again as this week continues. Thanks, Mike.
Good day.
Now, Elaine, before we continue, we have another call too. Tom is on the Berkeley Medical Center talk line, WV Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Tom, good morning. You have a question for Councilwoman Elaine Mauck.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Elaine. How are you
Good morning,
doing?
Tom. How you doing?
Pretty good. Hey, during the primaries, you guys had interviewed Councilman Barnhart, and he was saying he would be in favor of the levy if the city of Martinsburg was excluded from this. I would like to see your point on that, Elaine, since you're representing the city for the office you'll be taking.
Okay, under state code, if you run a levy, all districts have to be included. You cannot exclude it. So I'm not in favor. I'm not in favor if that happens.
Now, wait a minute. You got to get a little tighter on that, because this goes back to the old time when we turned around. We were excluded from voting for the zoning for the county. So you can exclude us for one thing, you're saying, with state code, but then now you're telling me you cannot exclude the city of Martinsburg, who we pay our own firefighters in town.
Well, sir,
we pay our fees.
Okay, I wasn't involved. I wasn't involved in the others issue, but we did.
That doesn't matter.
But we contacted the state. We contacted the state office regarding this issue, and that's what they told us, that we could not exclude.
Could you make that more transparent, and maybe the county could turn around and show us these codes and show us these laws? Because I'm hearing different things, and it's very confusing to turn around and say, well, and apparently to me sometimes you're legal in the county does not follow the rules. And I do agree with Mr. Falk. There is a lot of problems with the money trip, and I know this from what the county's asking the city to pay for the animal ward.
And Tom,
if you looked at that, it's like, where's the money?
Tom, your point is you already pay fire fees in the city. Why would you also have to pay fire fees for the county?
Exactly.
That's a good question, I think.
Does the county?
That is a really good question.
Does the county answer city calls, Elaine?
As backup.
As backup?
Yeah, but not that. But that would not be, to me. That wasn't justified to charge the city also for the fire fees.
But the state tells you cannot exclude any part of the county. That includes
all
the city.
districts. All districts have to be included.
That includes the city.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, would this be another example? I don't think that when it comes to the police levy, right, the county folks don't pay for the police levy, correct?
That is true, but you understand, right now we're fighting municipal regular rules like the city has home rule. The county can't do home rule. So if it was a home rule clause in there, you could do that. but they won't allow the counties to do home rule to do those types of things.
Well, I mean, it just doesn't seem right to me. I think Tom brings up a really good point. I think Tom has two good points. One, just on the face of it, you shouldn't have to pay two separate fire levies.
Well, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. We've tried to find out what we can do. That's why we're going with the fire fee, because it does not include the city. The fire fee is county only.
Right. I think the other point that he has, I think, is excellent. And I'm sure you agree with this too. But the whole comparison with the vote a few years ago on zoning. The city was excluded from that. Good points, Tom. Thank you.
Tom, thanks for the call.
You guys have a good day now.
too.
Happy West Virginia Day.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That is tomorrow, 9:31. Another segment with Councilwoman Elaine Mauck headed your way here in just a second. This segment was brought to you by Bechtel Jewelers, West Virginia's largest Pandora retailer, Route 11 South Inwood, next to Viva Mexico. 304-263-6540 and 304-263-6586, our telephone numbers, if you have a question for Councilwoman Elaine Mauck.
It's the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg. Stop in now for great deals on a great line of Jeep products. Get $1,000 cash back on a 2019 Jeep Cherokee with financing at 0% for 60 months. How about a new 2019 Cherokee Latitude 4x4, only $219 a month, or a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK for only $296 a month. Get bonus cash up to $6,000 off a 2018 Renegade, plus $500 trade. Stop by and test drive a Chrysler Pacifica and get free movie passes. It's all at the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building is now open. This new 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility is conveniently located off Interstate 81, exit 20 at the intersection of US 11 and Campus Drive. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills medical office building features many different offices and services for area residents. It's now home to urgent care, women's imaging center, lab services, and primary care pediatrics. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building now open to serve you.
At BCT, we'll get you home. Whether you're buying, building, remodeling, or refinancing, BCT can help. We offer first-time home buyers loans, construction permanent loans, and home equity loans, all with attractive rates and flexible terms. For your next home mortgage, stop by any of our 7 convenient locations or see us at the Home Show, Row A, Booth 4. Visit us online at mybct.com. BCT, Bank of Charlestown. We simplify your financial life. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to the program. This segment brought to you by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations. Robert Fields and Sons, a family-owned full-service funeral home proudly serving our area since 1880. Big thanks to all of our sponsors on the program and to you, our listeners, too. You can catch us so many different ways now. And don't forget, you can always catch the replay of our show online at talkradiowrnr.com. You can link to it off of our Facebook page or catch the rebroadcast of the cable TV Channel 10 live show on YouTube by going and searching WRNR TV on YouTube.com.
And I reminded you to turn on that YouTube recording today.
Not. Savon reminded me.
She reminded you first, but I still
Savon
reminded
took your job because you failed miserably at it yesterday.
I did. I failed miserably. I had one thing to do yesterday, and I didn't do it.
You see how I screwed up and blamed it on you?
I had a lot on my mind yesterday.
Great?
A lot on my mind yesterday.
Councilwoman Elaine Mauck is here. She's in the right place at the wrong time. We're talking about fire fees here. Little Dr. John there to play us in.
You know, this is like one of those, the boys all got together and sent the girl down here today.
That's what they did, man.
That's what happened.
You
do okay.
Yeah, Elaine is there, and I know caller David has a question for you too. So let's get David on right now on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. Go ahead, David. You're on with Councilwoman Elaine Mauck.
Hi, Elaine. It's David.
Hi, Dave. How you doing, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah. How you doing?
Everybody's cool. What's on your mind, Dave?
So what you're saying is you want to don't tax the city of Martinsburg residents to help pay for county fire stations.
Whoa. No. That dog tax and the fire fees are two different things.
No, I said, you're saying you want to double tax us to help pay for the fire stations.
No, sir, I did not. I said I didn't want a double tax.
She said, Elaine said that the state code requires that they not exclude any part of the county.
But that doesn't make sense, because we didn't vote for zoning, and we didn't vote for the hunting here in the zoning. We didn't vote for that.
Well, the different people in Charleston were different at that particular time on those rulings, and this is a ruling that we've already gotten that we cannot exclude any district.
So what's going to happen is if we vote for it, it's going to probably be defeated, because we're not going to pay double taxation.
Okay, you got two different things going here, David. You have a fire fee, which is county only, and that would be under a levy that would be voted. That would be they're two different things, sir.
I would definitely vote against it.
Okay. No problem.
As is your right, David.
That's your right, sir.
Okay, thank you.
David, David, thanks for calling, man. You haven't called in a while. It's nice to hear from you.
You're welcome.
Good to talk to you, Dave.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.
Elaine, it also strikes me that you had a little experience with the Mauck train, too, previously.
Well, I had Mr. Snyder and I, Herb Snyder, when he was the senator, he and I were on that Mauck train original group that we got $500,000 that was supposed to be allocated per year, and then good old state of West Virginia never paid it. So
correct. Governor Tomlin pretty much ignored the requirement to pay it.
They did not pay it, so it's kind of put us in the bind. And then when we were at the meeting the other day, the biggest issue, some of the issues coming up is on the Department of Highways, they keep saying we can't contribute to the Mauck train. Well, let's look at the real situation. When you have all the traffic that's moving east down Route 9, look at the mix that we've got at Exit 12 with all the problems that we've got there. You have all the problems in Harpers Ferry, and you got all these other problems. We've got to address our roads in our area. So they're going to have to throw money at something, because as it stands, poor Brunswick is going to get stuck with all the traffic from Martinsburg, Harpers Ferry, and Duffields if this end up stopping the train at Brunswick. So I'm very much concerned for that poor community.
Which is another good reason for Maryland to negotiate that $3.2 million request.
I would think you can't get a parking spot at Brunswick now if they add on.
They'd have to park out on the 340. On 340.
It's just terrible. Right. And that traffic coming across the bridge when that train lets out around 5 o'clock, it's backed up for miles.
Right.
It's a traffic nightmare.
So that's that particular issue. I just wanted to bring that up, that everybody seem to forget.
It's like the proverbial biblical eye of the needle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get through that little.
But going along with Riley Moore to state that I made the statement that the supposedly $500 to $700 million tourism dollars, which is 25% of the tourism budget, comes from Berkeley and Jefferson County. And then our higher wages and things, again, contributes to income tax. And I told the gentleman from the highways, Mr. Smith, that I'm tired of seeing our money go south and nothing coming east.
Speaking of Harpers Ferry, Denis Frey retired from Harpers Ferry's Park Service last week, I think it was. And we'd had Denis on the program previously.
Great guy.
Very knowledgeable. He has retired, and we wish him all the best, and we will miss him. He was a good friend of the program.
Great guy.
Elaine, a couple of things before our segment ends. Jack Newbrough, former U.S. Senate candidate Jack Newbrough, will be with us in just a couple of minutes.
Well, I do want to talk about the Roundhouse and some things that have been happening. We had a great raid with Heritage Days here back in 1st of May. We had the Great Gatsby, which was a cat issue where they had people adopting cats and different events going on. But this June 30th at 9 o'clock, a gentleman who died in Pennsylvania wanted his estate sold at a B&O type facility, and it's all model railroads and B&O items.
Nice. And where's that going to be?
It's going to be at the Roundhouse at 9 o'clock on June 30th.
Oh, my.
What day of the week is June 30th?
Saturday.
That's a Saturday. Okay. I love model trains.
So it'll be model trains and B&O.
Do any of those proceeds go to the city or to the anything?
Well, they're paying rent for the facility.
I see. Okay.
But
it's
again,
set up and running and everything?
I don't know. They're not going to have them set up and running. They're just going to be set. They're going to, because there's 440 lots. I don't think they can't have the stuff set up and running.
It's quite a collection.
Yes, quite a collection, and I'm excited. And of course, then in July we have the Paranormal weekend, which is the Odd Fest, and it's going to be the July 20th through 22nd. So a lot of things happening there, and we've gotten approval from Amtrak that they're going to put a platform in, and then they're going to put a fence around the Roundhouse area there. That's going to be a black aluminum type fence, like 6 foot high, that looks like a regular picket fence. and the final plans came in for the bathroom. So a lot of things happening.
Oh, you know what I like about the paranormal event, Dave, is they can tell you in advance if it's going to be successful or not. That's the thing I like best about that event. And you know they're not going to pick a day when it rains.
No.
You know.
Well, the thing is, they'll be doing, it's going to be one of those, what do you call it, marathons, because you start on Friday evening and you're up all night with the Roundhouse and the Apollo Theater with paranormal investigations, in the same way on Saturday, and your event starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and the same thing on Sunday. So I guess the ghost will be very tired by Sunday evening.
Poltergeist. Elaine, West Virginia Day is tomorrow.
Yes,
a word, if you don't mind, quickly about the state.
Well, the state is evolving, and there's so many things that, historically speaking, I have so many documents and things that I can absolutely pull something from and do a topic, but I forgot that today was the 19th because I was hit with the fire fees.
That was clearly more important today.
So, but again, there's so many nice things happening in West Virginia, and the tourism and the geocaching in Berkeley County, we're number one in the country. And we're still there. And
we're number one in what?
Geocaching.
Geocaching in the country.
Okay.
Because we're halfway between Canada and Florida, all these people that are geocachers, they stop here and take a day or two to do geocaching as a break for their trips. So many people from Canada. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you see a lot of Ontario plates on Interstate 81.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Right. And some of the things that we are having problems with is the fact that our traffic is so busy on 81 with this 80,000, and then you have all of the construction that's going on, and it's just amazing about this community is just evolving. And they
have part of the decking down on the bridge coming across the Potomac,
right?
So you can see progress being made there, and hopefully there's an end in sight.
Well, I'm on that bridge committee, and it's been very hard since March for them to get days that they can pull pillars or anything else because the water's been up so high.
Sure.
It's been unbelievable number of days that they haven't been able to.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but it makes sense.
Elaine,
it's going to slow them down.
Yes.
For all the info today. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks heaps for having me, and I should have a history topic the next time.
Very nice. You get an easy subject next time. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
9:43, Jack Newbrough joins us next on the program.
No, I would not give you false hope on this strange and mournful day, but the mother and child reunion is only a motion away. Oh, little darling of mine.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you're a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg.
The Honda 4th of July sales event has brilliant deals on our most popular vehicles, like the Civic, Fit, and Pilot. It's a reason to celebrate across the country, from the Liberty Bell to Hollywood, and even back up to Niagara Falls. So come discover the 2018 KBB.com Best Overall Brand during the Honda 4th of July sales event, now at your Honda dealer.
Miller Honda, south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 brand image awards from Kelly Blue Book. Visit kbb.com for more information.
Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and it happens in our own communities. Victims can be any gender, age, or race. Join the Department of Homeland Security's Blue Campaign to learn how to recognize and report this heinous crime. Visit our website at www.dhs.gov/bluecampaign. That's www.dhs.gov/bluecampaign. Your second look could be their second chance.
In the market for a flooring upgrade, Trips Floor Sanding and Berkeley Fashion Flooring does it all, from hardwood floor restoration to new floor installation, including hardwood, tile, vinyl, laminate, carpet, and the hottest trend in flooring, luxury vinyl tile and luxury vinyl plank. Family owned and operated with over 25 years experience, you can expect excellent customer service. Estimates are free. Call 304-229-7009 or online at tripsfloorsanding.com.
This segment of our program brought to you by Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Route 9 east of Martinsburg, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty at 946. Our program continues tomorrow on the Wednesday edition of our show. We'll be, among others on the program, talking with the City of Martinsburg Police Chief George Swartwood and his Deputy Chief, Maury Richards and his Deputy Chief George Swartwood. I think I just promoted George.
Is that tomorrow?
That is tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay.
And we are efforting Eddie Gokenauer from Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Lots of firefighting experience in the career of Eddie Gokenauer.
Absolutely, sure.
I've been communicating back and forth with Eddie about that.
Are we going to talk about the fire fee with him tomorrow?
We're trying to.
Okay.
It's just a matter of trying to get all that
Well, that's
set
an
up.
opinion that I think a lot of people would respect right there.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Right. Right now we go to the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line and bring in Jack Newbrough, U.S. Navy veteran, truck driver, and a U.S. Senate candidate in the last election, too. I think you picked up 3% of the vote, Jack, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, it depends on which one you looked at. I think that Wheeling paper said I had like 4,700 votes. The one was 4,092. There's all kind of different numbers up there, but I was pleased with my turnout. For, like I said, I only spent about $200 on my campaign, and I reached a lot of people.
You get 3% of the vote for it.
Jack, I've been in politics and around politics for a long time, and anytime you can get 4,700 votes for anything on $200, that's a good ROI right there, buddy.
Yeah, I was pleased with it. I had a lot of supporters, and we had our Second Amendment rally up here in Weirton Saturday, where Congressman McKinley was here, and Patrick Morrissey, and Mark Sateslow, our representative up here in Hancock County, was there. So got to meet him and talk with them and everything like that about how things were going on, and it was very exciting. I enjoyed every minute of it.
So you've thrown your support then to the winner, Patrick Morrissey, in the general election. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there for him. I talked to him yesterday, kind of been talking with him and his campaign manager, letting him know about some events going on with the state, like, of course, Mountain Fest, the big bike rally going on in July, were some of the things that I don't think he was realized about, but, I told him all about it, and that's usually a big event in West Virginia down in Morgantown when they have their bike rally.
So I think all of the Republican candidates except for Don Blankenship have come over and supported Patrick in the general election. If I have that right, don't I, Rob?
Correct.
Yeah, there you go.
I believe so, yeah.
Jack, when we were communicating on Friday, you wanted to give us a call on the show. We didn't have time, but today we do, obviously. So you had some issues with some regulations you said you'd run into, you wanted to bring to people's attention.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure you guys probably aware about 2 weeks before election night I suffered a heart attack.
Yes.
And I was in the VA hospital down in Huntington, which I want to give a big shout-out to Congressman Jenkins and Congressman Mooney for getting the VA hospital in Huntington named after Woody. That the president signed it into law yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a big shout-out to that. I love it. I think that's great.
Very nice. Tell me what happened to you.
It was just kind of weird. Like I said, that Monday we had our debate in Wheeling that night, and then 7 o'clock the following morning, Berkeley had their big breakfast that they have. I don't know, hundreds of people show up for that. So it was like I left straight from Wheeling, went to Berkeley, went to the breakfast at 7. Then we had a luncheon with the Republican women in Huntington. So then at 11:30 that afternoon, so that whole day I had no sleep. So then I got a hotel room in Huntington, and I went to bed. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I just woke up, felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. There wasn't any kind of pain or anything like that, but I just didn't feel right. So I went to the emergency room at the VA, and they kept me overnight. And next morning, 3 cardiologists sitting down there waiting on me and said, Mr. Newbrough, you suffered a slight heart attack. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So they sent me to St. Mary's to do a heart cath, and they found 40% blockage in there, which wasn't bad enough to put any stents in. So basically I'm just taking some medication for cholesterol and just stuff for my heart, baby aspirin and everything else. And they told me to take 2 weeks off, which I did. And I went back to work. Was working about 4 weeks. And then, of course, I had to retake another DOT physical because I drive a truck. And they came out to me and just basically said that according to federal government guidelines, you suffered a heart attack, you have to take 3 months off from work. Even though I've been cleared by 2 cardiologists and my personal care doctor to go back to work, the government says I can't.
So what do you do for 3 months? How do you get an income?
Well, I guess I'll be eligible to file for unemployment, so that's basically what I'm going to have to do is just file for unemployment, wait for that to kick in, which I don't think I should have any problem getting that, but you never know, though.
So the law is that's a federal law that if you have a heart attack.
That is a federal law. Yes, it is.
So you've had clearance from your doctors, but even with the clearance, the federal law is you have to have 3 months off if you have a heart attack, regardless of the severity of it, right?
Right. Regardless of whatever doctor tells you, that's just, which I brought that to Congressman McKinley. I sat there and talked with him Saturday about it, which, that's the whole thing. It's one of the reasons that why I got into the Senate race to begin with, is I'm all about less government, and this is just a perfect example of what the government can do to kind of screw with your life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, I understand that having a heart attack is a medical issue like that, but, when I saw my cardio last Friday at the VA, he said, hey, Jackie, I don't need to see you for a year. Your blood work's fine and everything else. They're saying it's okay, but here's the federal government telling me, no, it's not. You have to wait 3 more months before you can go to work.
How long since the heart attack, Jack?
It was the end of April, so I won't be able to go back to work till
the end of July.
That's the thing that I have to check into. Now, I'm sure it's from the day that it happened. So I think the earliest that I'll be able to return back to work is the end of July.
Part of me says, that's good. I don't want someone who's driving a semi having a recurrence of a heart problem and plowing into, killing yourself and several people.
Or flying an airplane or doing...
Sure.
Right.
But on the other hand, if your doctors have cleared you, is there a reason why it's the magic 3 months? It's not 6 months or 1 month or whatever? Any idea?
Well, I'm guessing probably when it comes to especially commercial vehicles and stuff like that, there probably was an accident back in the past where somebody had a heart attack after me and then went back to work too soon. And it's like the typical thing of everything else, and that's one of my issues as far as, with the only gripe that I've ever had with President Trump was his choice for Secretary of Transportation. And it was, of course, that's Mitch McConnell's wife, Joy. And it's the same thing, and it's not only just with his administration, but, since I've been driving for 15 years, whatever administration gets in there, they get to name their Secretary of Transportation. And it's never nobody that really understands the trucking industry to begin with. And I always try to bring it up, we kind of get a bad rap a lot of times, but, without trucks, people don't eat, they don't get gas for their cars. I mean, everything that you own comes off the back of a truck one time or another. But yet we are probably the most government-regulated profession there is. Like I said, with the electronic logs going into mandate now, I just saw a stat that the American Truckers Association put out in the month of April. 5,500 truck drivers have quit driving just in the month of April alone. And that's basically, I'm sure, because of the electronic log mandate going into effect.
Now, you guys have a powerful lobby in Washington, don't you, Jack?
Well, they have
American Truckers
Association. Yes. It's kind of funny when I'm glad you brought that up, because I reached out to them, just to see if they would support me in my campaign. And you would think that having a truck driver running at the federal level, that they would kind of want to get their support behind somebody like that, because I know all the trucking regulations and to kind of help it up and to keep the industry, to keep it growing in the right direction. But, of course, they never got back to me.
Well, you're a Republican, dude. That truckers are Teamsters. That's Democrats.
Well, the American Truckers Association is not really as far as dealing with the Teamsters. I mean, they basically they deal with a lot of the bigger companies like Schneider National, JB Hunt. They're basically out for a lot of them, because talking with a couple of individuals there in D.C. about that, and that's where I kind of got the gist of it. A lot of the owner operators that are out on the road, they're not big fans of the ATA. I mean, it's kind of one of those 50-50 things with them.
Yeah, I can see that. I used to have a good friend who ran their lobbying operation, which is why I know they have a powerful lobby many years ago. But when it comes down to Canada, I know a guy a few years back owned a funeral home. And he'd have thought that he could go down. There's an association of funeral home owners. You'd think he'd get a lot of money from them. They wouldn't even take a look at him, wouldn't host a reception for him or anything. And it was kind of funny. The reason is they didn't think he could win.
Maybe if he lied down, they would have hosted
it. They didn't think he could win. That was the reason.
Well, it was kind of funny when you were talking, there wasn't basically, I ran my campaign with no endorsements or no donations, but I did reach out to a few people, and it was kind of funny, especially our state of West Virginia, which we get a bad rap, and that's another reason why I wanted to get involved into. Being a truck driver, I would call a lot of the big trucking manufacturers like Mauck, Peterbilt, and stuff like that, and ask them, hey, and introduce myself to them, and try to even have a sit down and meet with them and everything like that. But when they hear that you're from West Virginia, says, well, we don't support West Virginia. I said, you don't understand. I said, I'm running for U.S. Senate, not state Senate. It's amazing to me how they get those two, political views, misconcurred or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, well, I understand you don't have any business in West Virginia. I go, but I drive a truck and I'm running at the federal level that, basically the reason why these big trucking companies have come in with the diesel exhaust fluid is because of the federal government, which there's another $3 a gallon that you have to put into your truck that basically is pig waste. It's exactly what it is. So for emission, for the Obama EPA Commission is what they put it in there. So all these big trucking companies or the manufacturers that build the trucks had to go and put these new tanks in and these new systems into their engines to make to get the federal regulations for the EPA.
Is that
it's amazing.
Is that the urea that you use in your commercial in your, like, if you buy a diesel pickup truck, urea, right?
Yeah, they call it diesel exhaust fluid. That's what it's called, DEF, that you have to fill in. Like I said, I think right now it's up around $3 a gallon.
But it's pig waste?
That's exactly what it is.
You mean as in
pig waste.
Pig pee?
Pig pee?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Smells great, by the way.
Yeah,
really?
Right, yeah. don't ever get it on your shoes. I mean, it'll eat the paint right off your car or anything like that. I mean, that stuff's some potent stuff.
So, Jack, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to ask you, so you ran
45 seconds.
Real quick, is there a political future for Jack Newbrough?
I've been approached. I'm thinking about it. I guess 2020 is a few years from now, and we'll wait and see what happens.
Are you thinking local level or U.S. Senate level again?
I think that I will probably try to do it at the local level. I mean, like I said, I won't put my name in a hat against any of my delegates up here because I'm good friends with both of them. But that's not to say that I might not run for state senate somewhere along down the path.
All right. Hey, Jack, real quick, the requirement that you said about the 3 months, does that apply to airline pilots, taxi cab drivers, dump truck drivers, everybody?
I guess that's a good question. I mean, basically, it was, I read it up. It's called the FMCSA. It's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It's the truck driver's Bible. So I'm guessing that anybody that basically handles a CDL, now as far as pilots and stuff, I would have no idea about that. But I mean, as far as I know, anybody that holds a commercial driver's license, they follow under the same guidelines. So that would have to fall down and be the same exact thing.
All right. Jack, thanks so much for checking in this morning.
Hey, stay in touch.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Former U.S. Senate candidate Jack Newbrough on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line at 9:58. Final minute next.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics insurance companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
This wine has very distinct flavor notes.
Yes, I'm getting raked dirt and freshly mowed grass with hints of leather and chalk.
Well, it is an earthy wine, but
It's delicious. I'll have a double header.
Like your baseball bold and action-packed, paired with friends and fun? There's a place for that, Nationals Park. Sunday, June 24th is another family fun day when the Nats take on the Phillies. The first 10,000 fans ages 12 and under get a kid's Max Scherzer eye patch presented by Harris Teeter. Buy your tickets today at nationals.com.
Big thanks to all of our guests on the program today. Great to hear from Jack, the U.S. Navy veteran, truck driver, U.S. Senate candidate Newbrough.
I love that. They should do a documentary on the guy.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
Should have done that during the campaign.
Wouldn't that be great?
Would have been a great job for your company.
It would have been wonderful. Yeah, I just had to get the funding for it. But I wish I had that idea a year ago.
Next time. Thanks to our intern, Siobhan Hunter. Siobhan, have a great day. Thanks for your help today.
Thank you.
Our producer, Sherry Dieter Davis. And for you, our listeners.
And our crack research
great
staff.
Great calls today. It was good phone participation.
It sure was.
Glenn Beck Show is next. Talk to you again in 22 short hours. This is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TheraWorks Relief.